Welcome to the Sports Council.
Just making that final out and winning a state championship at 11:45 or whatever it was that night, and it will probably go down in history as one of the funnest, 2B state championship games in the state, honestly.
The council is now in session.
With a personality shaped by being an athlete and a background in mainstream sports media, I found that the stories I was most interested in telling were the ones often overlooked, the ones that might not otherwise be told, the ones that show the intangible and not just the highlight reel. The Sports Council is about highlighting the great, the good, the unique, and everything in between in the Pacific Northwest sports world. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Happy Thursday and welcome to the Sports Council. Now it might be March Madness, but at the high school level, spring sports are underway. The Tri-Cities Prep Jaguars are the defending 2B baseball champions. This week on the Sports Council, we're catching up with their head coach, Jason Jarrett.
Jason Jarrett, head coach of Tri-City Prep.
And gearing up for another baseball season. Spring season is finally here. You guys were 2B champions last year. How does that feel as you kind of have pressure on your back coming into a new season?
It feels really good, of course, winning another state championship. And, of course, every goal you go into the season is to win another state championship, And so, but the bullseye is larger on the back than it was the season before because you are the reigning champion. And everybody wants to be that team to knock off the guys on top. And ideally, that's how it's supposed to be, right? I mean, that's how we looked at it year in, year out. But we know that we have to go in, Jamie, that much harder in everything that we do. Be more disciplined, be more focused, knowing that everybody that we play are going to want to be that team to knock us off. So we just got to put a lot of extra effort into our practices for sure. So, yeah.
And let's take a look down memory lane just for a little bit. So that's your second state championship as head coach at Tri-Cities Prep. And last year, you guys weren't really the favorites, and it was kind of a weird finish. I think weird is the only way I can describe it. Yeah. So just tell me about that championship weekend that you guys were battling Mother Nature and everything, and you came out of it as state champions.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those things that you kind of look back now and you're like, wow, there was a very surreal moment about that whole process. You think about, we play a late night game, semifinal against a fabulous Brewster team that was probably picked to win again, ideally, because they had won it in 22 against Toutle Lake. And then, of course, we got that game into extras. We're down 4-0. We go into extras, we win, we prevail. And, that we finished about 11:30 at night, knowing that we have to play the next night, And so in preparation of that, of course, you celebrate it for a few minutes and then you get the guys focused and say, hey, we got to gear up. We've got one more game. Let's get it done. And so the next morning, of course, you get the team together and you kind of get them all riled up and get them focused. And we kind of did a small practice, that morning and did some BP and some other things that we worked on. And then we kind of just had more of a day of just relaxing and just getting our minds right. And of course that 1B game started, and of course the rain clouds come in, and then the downpour took place, and we were like, oh man, this is going to get interesting, and then the scenarios start coming up. Do we play tomorrow? Just like, oh boy, do we wait another day? Do we go to Wenatchee? Do we move this thing to Yakima? And so, I think we had like 4 different scenarios that were played out, and eventually it was decided between myself and the Adna coach, we're going to Yakima. The 1Bs went to Wenatchee and finished out, and of course we get over there and we're getting ready, and Adna had taken vans, so they were getting to Yakima way faster than us, and we had taken our bus. We get there and they say, okay, you guys got 45 minutes, we're ready to rock and roll. And it's like, holy cow, 45 minutes. And I'm frustrated because I'm like, we need a little bit more time to get going. And of course we finished, and it was a fabulous game for everybody who was able to be there. It was great to see the Adna fans there, and because they were able to bring their softball team and their fans to the game because they had just finished and they won their 2B state championship in softball that night. And so that was really great. And so, be able to have all those fans there and being there at Parker Field was a cool experience. And then just making that final out and winning a state championship at 11:45 or whatever it was at night. And I'll tell you what, Sunday was an exhaustion. I mean, fortunately it's a holiday weekend, so we were able to catch up on sleep. But I just remember the wife and kids, and we were getting home at 1 in the morning and thinking, wow, you just don't have a whole lot of time to really think about what you've been able to accomplish because of just the magnitude and just everything that went on. But it was a really great experience that it will probably go down in history as one of the funnest 2B state championship games in the state, honestly.
Situation that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, exactly.
I was at Adna's softball game earlier that day, so kind of funny because I'm piecing together everything as far as in my mind of how that all went down. And that coming into this year, you guys are a very young team. So tell me a little bit about the squad this year that's gearing up.
Yeah, we only lost one senior last year, and so we had everybody coming back. We have 11 freshmen out this year. I mean, we got a lot of young kids, which is exciting, but also it's like, okay, what do you expect with these young guys? I mean, high school kids are temperamental, like one day they're great and then the next day they're not because, maybe their girlfriend, either dumped them or decided to go with another guy to the dance, so they're ups and downs. And so you're dealing with a lot of the, understanding the focus. But, Jamie, the thing is, I've been really talking to our guys is that the game of baseball is fun to win games. Honestly, it's great. I mean, you want to do that, and you want to teach them how to hit and throw and do all those things. But it's the relationships that gets us further, and everything, because the game itself is going to end at some point. And so really we've taken our focus this year is just being intentional about how we are, being real as teammates, being open, be vulnerable. And that's a really hard thing to do. For people to be vulnerable means you kind of have to show a little bit of some emotions. And I think COVID stopped all that for us. I mean, we still talk about because there's still effects that we're seeing. We're seeing it in the classroom. We're seeing it plays out. And so we're, as a coach and as a leader, and as our staff, we just agreed that, we wanted our boys to be intentional. And so we're just, telling them how to play the game right, and not to put everything on themselves, like that's the reason why you play with 9 guys, because if one guy's failing, the other guy picks him up, it's those little small things, if you're 0 for 4 at the plate, hey, at least you can get a bunt down and move your teammate in scoring position and create that winning run. And so, working with those younger guys, and we have 3 seniors this year. They're great leaders, they're great individuals. I'm really excited to see where life takes them. But again, we're a very young team. I know not a lot of people don't want to hear that, but we really are. We have a really good, that junior, sophomore, freshman group. It's extremely solid, and so we've got a lot of excitement for the future of Tri-City Prep baseball.
Hey, if you have hard water, then you need Soft Water Specialists. With their new Symphony system, you'll get great tasting, healthier water that will leave your clothing softer and brighter, your dishes cleaner, and it will extend the life of your appliances. With more than 30 years combined experience treating residential and commercial hard water problems, Soft Water Specialists offers peace of mind. To transform your water from H2O no to H2O yeah, call Soft Water Specialists for a free consultation or visit mysoftwater.com today.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com. ChristineConnolly.com.
Have Christine Connolly help you achieve your housing goals and be your genie in a bottle.
As you wish. Buying or selling a home is a huge decision. You need someone that you trust and trust that they know what they're doing. As a second-generation realtor, I know how to anticipate the needs of my clients, and I make sure I'm up to date on the latest real estate trends in the Valley, along with buying programs that clients can take advantage of. I go above and beyond for all of my clients.
Contact Christine Connolly online or on Facebook at As You Wish Houses.
Part of Coldwell Banker Tomlinson.
You're listening to Jamie Council on the Sports Council.
We're catching up with head coach of Tri-Cities Prep Baseball, Jason Jarrett. Yeah, I was at the Spokane Arena when Tri-Cities Prep was there for state basketball and saw them get knocked out, and all I could think in my mind was, well, Jason's happy he hasn't back on the diamond now.
Yeah, well, I was partly excited. You know, of course, you're always excited to get your guys back out there. But, you know, I was rooting for those guys. I told them, they had texted Coach, you know, like, just to kind of reminder, we're not going to be there, you know, through our team app, you know, that we communicate through. And I said, that's fine, you know, go get it. You know, I want those guys to get those state championships because, you know, that carries over into your season. I really think a lot of things that people don't realize that having a good solid fall season really correlates into your winter, into your spring. And that's, if you want your program to be successful, it really starts with your football coach. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not a football guy. You know, I got my young son, he's starting to get more interested in it. I never liked getting hit, so that was my thing, you know. I really enjoyed the sport. I enjoy watching it, but I just see with high schools, you know, if you have a good fall season, that really correlates and rolls over to that fall season and then rolls right into your spring season. So it's important.
So you're a big proponent of having those multi-sport athletes.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, we see a lot. You know, we see a lot more guys are saying we're honing it down to just one sport. But I'm a big believer. I just, the more I watch the game play out, if you have an athlete, you know, like we have one gentleman right now, he's a sophomore. He's a three-sport athlete. Actually, we have more than that, you know, a couple more guys that are three-sport athletes, but the performance is that much greater. Their ability and adjustments are just on par, you know, and they really can just give you all. It's just there's something true to that, and I think that's kind of an old-timer scenario, right? You played all three sports for your school, especially for a small school.
Exactly.
You stay committed with that, and you see the good fruits from that. And I think that's the important. I always tell my kids that, hey, get involved in as many sports. My daughter, she's involved with volleyball and basketball and softball, and my son's getting more into football, and he's got basketball and baseball, you know. And I mean, I want them to try them all, you know, because, you know, don't hone it down just to say this is the one sport that you're going to do. You know, try to be flexible and enjoy each moment and learn something from those coaches too. You know, they're going to teach you a lot about, you know, maybe in relationships or about the game that's going to help carry over to your baseball game or your basketball game. You know, I mean, discipline in the weight room. I mean, you know, Coach Cairns and I, we discuss a lot about, you know, weight room workouts and stuff like that. You know, he's our football coach, and he does a fabulous job with that, you know, and without his help and getting those kids right in the weight room, it doesn't help. I mean, it helps me that he gets it right. If he doesn't get it right, it doesn't help me, you know. So it's very important that we dialogue a lot about, hey, what do you want for your guys, you know. So it's extremely helpful to get our guys on the right page for success on the field of baseball.
So a lot of teamwork at the coaches level inside of Tri-Cities Prep. And talking about the team you have returning, you say that 3 seniors, a lot of young guys. Who are the go-to players that people are going to be excited to see back out on the diamond for you guys?
Well, I mean, out of our senior group, you know, Henry Douglas, you know, and Ethan Hedgepeth and Caleb Sherfrey, those guys are going to be always exciting to see what they can do on the diamond. You know, of course we played Northwest Christian last weekend, and they all did, you know, well. And you know, first game of the season, you know, you get into some of the first game jitters, I call them. You know, you always got those kind of little yips that you're trying to get out of your system, and once you get them out, you're kind of in the roll. But you know, we'll see how the season goes, and then we get into our juniors. You got Owen Janke and Will Balcom. You know, of course, Will played basketball for prep, and you know, and Owen's a football guy and a baseball guy. So you know, and then getting down to our sophomores, you got Jarrett Garza and also Jamison Elliott, you know, I mean, some guys in Aiden McCabe, you know, those guys are just phenomenal athletes. And then into our freshman group, we got some newbies you got to be watching, you know, Sam DeLeon and also Bryson Calderon. I mean, those are a couple, you know, kids that, you know, you may want to keep your eye out if you're a fan of Tri-City Prep baseball, just to see what's going to occur with those guys. And they're young, you know, so I'm excited to see the growth and the process and where we're headed and the direction we're going. And yeah, it's a good time to be a Tri-City Prep Jaguar fan.
And that brings me to my next point of being a small 2B school. A lot of times players think, okay, well, I'm going to play varsity, but it's crazy the depth that you guys have at Tri-Cities Prep. So some freshmen are being like, oh, I'm not going to play varsity. How do you manage that as a coach? Because it's a good problem to have,
Absolutely.
But it is a problem because you're the one that has to deal with it.
Yeah, so if, you know, kids at Richland, Pasco, Chihuahua, you know, I mean, Southridge, Kennewick, you know, there's that, you got a lot of kids, right? So you're going to have that really, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. That small school, typically you think, oh, I got my golden ticket, we call it. You know, we've been using that metaphor a lot this season. You know, we have this thing in society that, you know, every kid thinks, oh, I get the Wonka golden ticket, right? I get the golden ticket to the factory. Well, that's not how it works, you know. And when you build a program, you're going to have a lot larger turnout. You know, we got a really large turnout. We had 23 kids come out. That's a record number. And so with that, you know, you can't have all kids on varsity. You know, so we're creating a JV and a varsity team. And you know, I get it. I understand, you know, you have that mindset of, you know, thinking that you're going to be on varsity coming in because in your mind that you're ready. But, you know, we believe that our system as coaches is that you got to earn it. And so we want these guys to really earn their spot. And so these freshmen that are coming in, you know, we have a lot of them are playing, you know, JV ball right now. And I told them, I said, hey, you guys got a good chance of getting moved up, but you got to prove to me. I mean, yeah, you guys have been practicing really well and doing really extremely well. But it's like anything, Jamie. You both and I know that we've been in high school sports and all the way up to the college levels. It doesn't mean that just because I did well in, you know, this particular sport that I should just, that next phase of life, I should just get automatic starting role. And, you know, you got to prove, and it's not a discredit to the kid at all. It's just that, hey, we're just trying to push you to be that much more, giving you a little bit more gusto. And we communicate to our guys, and we just said, hey, we just want you to earn it, you know. And the thing is that we're just trying to prepare these guys, because if they are college bound, you know, if they do have the athletic ability, we just want to make sure that they understand what the expectation is at that next level. You know, college coaches doesn't have to sit there and explain themselves. They're just like, you know, you're not good enough. Figure it out, you know. I mean, that's just the way it goes. They're getting paid to win, you know, and that's the thing, is they're not, you know, there to kind of cuddle the kid and try to, you know, talk to them about all the whatever they need to talk about. They're there to, you know, they got 40 some odd kids or whatever, and they got to get the best 9 out there to win the game. So
it's a very unique situation that to have at a 2B school. But with that being said, you're almost talking about it like a college level, and some people listening might be like, oh, you're a 2B school? You guys are known for putting players into, I mean, you had Pac-12, even though Pac-12, it is what it is. But in the past, I think it's 4 years, you have put 2 players into the Pac-12.
Yeah. And that's really great, and that's cool. You know, and we've had a lot of other players outside of that go on to the next level, you know. And that's the thing, is that we want the experience to be a game that next level ready. You know, I got a lot of college friends, you know, college coaches, and if I'm not doing my job making sure that kid is ready for the next level for them, I have failed my friends. And that's the thing, Jamie, you know how as well as I do, you don't want to fail your friends, right? But we also don't want to fail the kid, right? Like, ultimately, my goal is I want every single kid out there on our roster to play college baseball. But the honest truth is, it's not going to happen, right? But the thing is, they got to have that desire, they got to have that want, and it's got to be a perfect, you know, relationship, you know, for that to work perfectly for them. But yeah, if we're not getting them ready for that next level, then we have failed them. And that's kind of the way we run our program. We want them to understand it's a lot of doing the same thing repetitive. And it's like, I remember playing college baseball at Corbin University, and I'm like, man, I hate just taking fly ball after fly ball, or man, we're hitting hours after hours, you know. But there's there's a reason for that, you know. I mean, a lot of the same drills that you did in soccer in college, you were probably, man, sometimes you're like, coach, let's move on to the next drill. But in order to get really, really good, you got to practice, right?
My coach called them our vitamins.
That's it.
We
Your
had
vitamins, you got to take them,
daily
right?
vitamins, do the same thing every day.
Exactly. If you don't take them, then you're going to fail. You're going to get sick, right? And you're going to be dropped back. And we saw it with a lot of kids too, that even at the collegiate level, guys get injuries, and that was it. That was their opportunity missed. And you know, so we just want to make sure that these guys are ready for that, and so that when they hit their fall ball year, you know, you think their fall ball coming in their freshman year, that they're not, you know, stage fright. You know, I mean, I think a lot of guys get in there and they don't realize the magnitude. The game is different. Everything happens faster. Each level that you play up, everything happens a little bit faster. So we just try to explain that. And you know, a lot of times when you got juniors and seniors, they're like, oh, yeah, coach, I got my life under control. I know how to, I can do this. I can do this. Well, the reality is that we can't, you know, and until we get older in our later life, it's like John Wooten always says, you know, you don't know the full effects of what you have on your players until 20 years after coaching.
Yeah, that even if they don't move on to play college, they take those lessons with them no matter what industry it's in. And that's one thing, while I do a lot of college stuff or beyond, I love covering high school for that exact reason.
Exactly it. And that's the thing is, like, I was just reflecting the other day, my time, my experience at Corbin with Coach Paul Gale. And, you know, he wasn't the biggest communicator. And, man, I had a hard time understanding, you know, coming in my freshman year, I'm a bullpen catcher, you know, and I'm doing two-a-days, right? And how that worked is we had morning practice with the pitchers at 5:30 in the morning, and then we had to do them in the afternoon because you couldn't get through all your pitchers and get them ready for the start of the season, you know, with your first game. And I just remember being extremely tired. I hated it. I hated catching bullpens at 5:30 for an hour. It's horrible. It's miserable. I mean, I'd rather get on a treadmill. I mean, in that. But, you know, and then Gail yelling at me, you know, Jarrett, you got to block those. And balls ricocheting off the gym floor and bouncing off the walls. And you're like, I'm trying, coach. I'm still trying to get woken up here, you know. But that's the reality, is that he was wanting the best out of me. And that's what he knew, that I could give him more, and that I was lacking that and making an excuse because of my, you know, because I'm being tired and not being disciplined and going in bed, because I probably should have been in bed an hour earlier than I did, you know. And that's the effects that plays into the human form. You're going to have a lot of excuses, and that's what coaches don't want to hear. They want performance, and when they see something great out of you, they're going to drive you a little bit more. And that's what we kind of pretty much mimic and try to do for our guys.
And so baseball helped develop you into the person you are. You own your own business, but on that side, baseball is a big part of who you are, not just the head coach at Tri-Cities Prep, but you also have a podcast yourself. Yeah. So tell me about that.
Well, COVID, of course, that's kind of our number one starter. I think it started for a lot of people. You know, so thank you, COVID-19. And so, yeah, basically it was started based off our season was at the end, of course, of everything being shut down. And of course, we were kind of like all pondering what we're doing. And I have a couple of buddies, Eric Sorensen, he's the head baseball coach at Kittitas High School, which he's in the UAC, so we play each other and all that good stuff. And then Kelly Gow from St. Martin's, he's the head baseball coach at St. Martin's University. And so basically it was him and Eric kind of tag teaming each other, and then myself and Eric. And then basically how it came about is that we were kind of hitting Eric up and basically, you know, say, hey, we need to do something. Like let's do a podcast or something. And so basically how it came about is that Eric just finally said, all right, let's do this. And so basically he sent us some mics, and we kind of started hitting up some coaches. And so Kelly and I were kind of hitting up different people, and it kind of just blew up from there. And then basically we got through the COVID and we got back to baseball, and we just kind of figured out, you know, hey, we'll continue on with this. And so instead of doing it like we were doing it like, you know, 2 or 3 times a week, we started kind of shortening it down to like maybe, you know, like an episode a week kind of thing. And so, and through that, it's grown. You know, I mean, our name has grown a little bit. We've tried to bring some good content, and basically, you know, we've gotten some sponsors through that too. We got, you know, Safeguard out of the Tri-Cities here, and they're a sponsor for us. We got Devo Bats, and then we just picked up Max BP, which is a national company. They do the little reactive wiffle ball machines and things like that. So yeah, it's been a great deal. Super exciting where we're headed with that. And, you know, it's just coaches talking, you know, content, you know, so Kelly's got the college side of it and Eric and I are kind of the high school side of it. But, you know, all in all, we're still dialoguing about the same content, and we're just have a different, you know, little take on things. And we bring coaches in from the high school level all the way up to the pro level, you know, and we interview them and dialogue with them about, you know, different things about hitting, fielding, environment, all that kind of stuff, which has been really cool. So it's been a lot of fun.
So it's called Fungo Banter Podcast.
Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter. P&W Fungo Banter is what it is.
Okay, so and how can people find it?
Well, we're on Spotify and we're also on iTunes, your Apple Podcasts there too. So we also have a YouTube channel too. We just started out this year. So if you type in P&W Fungo Banter, you'll be able to pull us up. You can watch us, you know, it's not live, it's been pre-taped and that kind of stuff. So you can pull that up and watch it on there and get some good content. I mean, that's the idea. So we're dialoguing about different things that, you know, every single high school, college, pro coach is dealing with. And we want to, you know, we're just asking, you know, straight up questions. And to sit and chat for an hour, one night a week about baseball, it's fabulous. It's so cool, you know. So it's like, we enjoy it. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know how far it's going to go, but it's been a really enjoyable time doing this, so for sure.
I love that, and that's part of the reason why I have the Sports Council is to bring together the local sports community, and that's something that you're bringing together, the Pacific Northwest baseball community. So I see a lot of parallels, so I love the fact that you guys do that show. I listen to it myself.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. We really do. I mean, you know, we're not into it for getting famous or anything, but it's something to do, you know, and it's like Kelly came, you know, he has some family here in the Tri-Cities. He came over and visited me over Christmas break, and we were dialoguing just about how we've started, and we've kind of all reminisced about this, but, you know, it's just like it comes down to people listen because of the content. You know, if you have great content, and that's kind of like with the Sports Council, you know, people want to listen because of good content. If they have personal connection with you as an individual and the people that you bring on, people are going to listen to it, and that's how it works. And I think the Tri-Cities community is a lot like that, you know, and that's, I think, what correlates to your success with your show is there you have a community that's so tightly tied together, you know, in sports. I mean, you think about athletics, it's Tri-Cities, Yakima, Ellensburg.
I would say the state of Washington. I mean, honestly, it's the whole state of Washington. When you take a look at on WIBCA with the statewide basketball association and just how that reached every single corner of Washington state. So there is something special about the Pacific Northwest as well as the state of Washington. Their athletic, it's not just about the Seahawks, it's not about the Mariners, it's not about UW. It's about the smaller programs within it that make it up as a whole that really feed into the larger ones.
Well, and I think that Oregon correlates to that too. You know, my brother just got a job with Central Catholic down in Portland, and it's really cool to see. You know, they just won another state championship this year. They won it in football, and they just got one in basketball. You know, so you know it's really neat to see that. I mean, that state championship game was sold out. I don't know if you knew that, Jamie, but that was cool. I mean, that's a state championship high school basketball game, and it's completely sold out with, like, I don't know how many that arena can hold. I don't know, 4,000 fans or so, but that was pretty phenomenal to see that. So there is something to say, I think, uniquely about what we find about the Pacific Northwest. If you're an athlete or a coach, you're a special something. What I mean by that, a lot of we find through our podcast is some of the best athletes and coaches are coming out of the Pacific Northwest. And I'm talking about when you're talking about coaches going back east to coach or going down into California or Texas, a lot of those, you'll find the correlation of, you know, that guy was once in the Pacific Northwest, and that's kind of where his roots started. So, you know, there's something to say, you know, when you're out in, you know, at the end of February, 1st of March, and it's like snowing and it's like 40 degrees, and you're like, all right, boys, we got to roll. We don't get the luxury of coming into the gym to take, you know, whatever we can do. It's still somewhat dry, but, you know, I mean, it's just, that's what it is. It's grinders. I mean, that's what's so great about being up here in the Pacific Northwest. So we have a lot of unique individuals that are just extremely special. So
I'll have to put going to an Oregon high school state basketball game, because I've been to Tacoma, I've been to Yakima, and I've been to Spokane, but I haven't been to Oregon.
It's well worth it. From what my brother told me last weekend, it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I watched highlights that he had sent me, and I was like, wow, this is an experience. I mean, that you're talking about the big time, like that is the big time. Like some of those kids, that might be their only big time. Now, granted, Central Catholic had a couple of D1 players. They're moving on, and which is great to see those guys, because it's so fun to see where they're starting and where they're going to end up, right? I mean, you think about like Scott Pollard, you know, he was a Kamaikan guy, and of course, you know, you saw his journey, and then of course that was really cool. You know, a local guy, you know, he's done really well here, went to Kansas, and of course then moved on to the professional level, and you're like, I saw that guy, you know, like I used to root for that guy or root against it. I mean, I rooted against it because I was a Richland guy, but like I rooted against that. I did not like that guy.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com.
Hey, if you have hard water, then you need soft water specialists. With their new Symphony system, you'll get great tasting, healthier water that will leave your clothing softer and brighter, your dishes cleaner, and it will extend the life of your appliances. With more than 30 years combined experience treating residential and commercial hard water problems, Soft Water Specialists offers peace of mind. To transform your water from H2O no to H2O yeah, call Soft Water Specialists for a free consultation or visit mysoftwater.com today.
Have Christine Connolly help you achieve your housing goals and be your genie in a bottle.
As you wish. Buying or selling a home is a huge decision. You need someone that you trust and trust that they know what they're doing. As a second-generation realtor, I know how to anticipate the needs of my clients, and I make sure I'm up to date on the latest real estate trends in the Valley, along with buying programs that clients can take advantage of. I go above and beyond for all of my clients.
Contact Christine Connolly online or on Facebook at As You Wish Houses.
Part of Coldwell Banker Tomlinson.
You're listening to Jamie Council on the Sports Council.
We're catching up with head coach of Tri-Cities Prep Baseball, Jason Jarrett.
Speaking of your love for baseball and contributing to the community of baseball at the youth or at the high school level, you have a new league coming up. We'll cover more about this, but there's kind of a trophy peeking in if you want to scoot that in for those that are watching on YouTube, or if you want to go to YouTube to check out what that trophy looks like. The Tillage Summer Baseball League. Jason, what is the Tillage Summer Baseball League?
Well, this is actually extremely exciting, and you're right. I mean, I love high school baseball. I really do. And there's a lot of great things that are happening out there. And so last fall, myself, Todd Gibson, he's the head baseball coach at Ellensburg High School. And we were just dialogue, talking shop, you know, that we do, you know, and it's kind of how we do as coaches. And so I was talking about how it'd been, you know, I had Grant Richardson from Richland and I had talked about, you know, starting some type of a league. You know, it'd be great to get some type of a league started, you know. And so I was expressing that to Todd about that, and he we're just kind of talking there for about an hour, and he's like, Jason, I think we got something here. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm writing down as you're telling me about this. He goes, I think we got about like maybe 10 schools, you know, we could possibly, you know, you'd be interested in doing something like this. And I'm like, okay, you know, maybe, all right, let's try it, let's shoot it. So we dialogued a little bit more about it, and then we kind of talked at a later date on it a few weeks later, and kind of came up some ideas on how we would do it. And so we sent out a Zoom type meeting to, you know, 10 different schools, and that was like Ephrata, Sunnyside, Review, Eastmont, Wenatchee, Brewster, you know, and you know, out there. And so we basically said, hey, we want you guys to join in on this meeting. We got a proposal to throw at you. And so we threw it out there, and we took vote, who's in? And every single one that was a part of that meeting said, yeah, we want to do this. And so what we did is we created a master calendar and said we kind of do it like the Legion scenario. So you kind of have alternating, years that you're traveling, so you're not all on the road at one point, or everybody on the north, you're going up and back and forth, that kind of stuff. So we kind of set it up that way, and then we kind of dialogued a little bit, Todd and myself, and said, hey, we want to make this a really big time kind of type situation. And so, we're going to have a championship type playoff scenario, and so we'll have, an actual rankings, and then basically out of those 10 teams will be the top 6 that will move on to the playoffs. We'll have a double elimination with an actual final, and then basically a crowning of a kind of a replica, and in a sense, kind of a state championship scenario. And so the idea is that we're working on patches right now. So every team in the league is going to have a patch. They have to have submitted rosters. This year it's kind of just Todd and I. I'm hoping next year we can kind of vote in a commissioner and kind of get this really steamrolling ahead, that it's not just Todd and I doing all the work, because we're also high school coaches too, so we're busy as it is. But the idea is that we want to keep it just inexpensive. We want to keep it where each team that wants to be part of this can get a good amount of fair games, 35 games on a summer season. You can still do some of your tournaments, but then feel like you're playing for something. We go to these tournaments, and it's great that you can win these little medals and the rings and all that stuff. Yeah, but I think personally to have something that's a long-going listing name, so there's like 21 plates here, so that's 21 years of history that could go on this thing and travel on and look beyond your time and say, I once was part of that with my high school summer team, and we won that championship, and we still see our name. I look at that WIA state championship that we just won, and you see all the school names, and it goes back to way back in the 80s, even further back, I think personally, but just to see like how many people look at that and it's like, man, that team 1983, I was part of that team. Like that's pretty cool. Like,
it's really cool. I remember holding the Gold Cup for boat racing, and that's one of the oldest standing trophies in sports, over 100 years. And just to see all, like, I get what you're saying, where it's just like it's like history, taking a look back into history.
And you can't take any of that thing away from those people, right? So it's like that experience has been there, so you can't take that away. So it's extremely exciting about that. And so we're hoping this will be our first season, we're hoping for a big kickoff of it, hoping that more people get momentum. It's starting to get out there a little bit, and we've gotten some traction. If schools are like, hey, we want to join, well, we're going to stick with what we have now, and then next year we'll reevaluate. And basically, if you're still interested, we'd like to have you part of it. And the reason is because we just don't want to all of a sudden get this funnel of all these different schools in, and then all of a sudden we're trying to scramble it, because this goes way back into
You've been
November.
working on this for months.
And so the idea is like, if we get more schools, we'll create a north and a south, and so basically we'll have like all the north teams will be up in their division and stuff, and then we'll have a south division, and then we'll kind of do some type of a playoff off of that, probably more than likely. So we'll see how it goes, but it's pretty exciting. So.
And we're running out of time here, so last question about the Tillage Summer Baseball League. It is schools, so is it academic based? And from my understanding, it's almost to give them another option than paying a lot of money for these travel teams. So it's a way to enhance the high school experience.
Yeah, it is. And that's the idea. You play on these travel teams, and they're just going to play tournaments. And they're going to have some non-league, I would say, or non-tournament type games. But the biggest focus is for these high school teams to say, hey, you charge whatever you want as a high school team, but then you can go on and play in a league that matters. You're not just playing other high school teams and they're just playing games, and that's a lot of it has happened, but you're now playing for a meaning. Like, you play a Brewster or a Natchez or a Sunny, it does matter. Like, you can't lose these games, because then if you lose 2 games to these guys, you're going to drop down in the rankings, and you may not make the playoffs, because the top 6 teams go. And then the first 2 teams who basically finish out, they'll get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. So we're trying to make it a little gritty, like something to play for. I mean, if we get some coaches thrown out because they're getting a little intense, that's fine with us. Like, we're good with that, just keep it clean. But the thing is, like, we just want it to be like a really great experience for the parents and the players, and I'm hoping like through this we'll get some traction. I'm still working on our social media type stuff, getting a page set up on X. It used to be Twitter. Of course, you kind of trying to get used to that, but trying to get that kind of stuff set up, and just trying to work with some people in the community and trying to get it more publicized, and then so that kids are going to really want to be part of, like, why do I need to pay all that money? And I'm only playing like 2 games in a tournament, and we played for a plastic medal or, you know, something. Now,
and had to travel, airfare,
you know,
hotel, and
absolutely.
It's giving another journey to be able to play and become a better baseball player. Yeah. Well, awesome. I look forward to hearing more about the Tillage Summer Baseball League as you put it all together, but this is the soft opening of that, and best of luck in your high school season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that wraps up this week's show of the Sports Council. Thank you for joining me on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. A reminder, the Sports Council happens 4 times a month, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. But you can listen to the show not just over the airwaves at 11:30 on Thursdays, but also on demand at 1340ESPNradio.com via podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search for the Sports Council, and it's also available via YouTube. So lots of ways to listen to the Sports Council and support our local sports community. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me. You're listening to 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Now we go back to your originally scheduled Seattle sports programming.